Hey guys, it's Pamela Ferguson, and today I want to talk about helping your teen with their new job, handle their finances. So we want to work about how they handle their finances with their new job. So I have two teens that are currently working. One is 17 and one is 16. And when the first one got her job, for a couple months I kind of said, well, let her do whatever she wants with this money, and I won't put a lot of constraints on her. I won't say, hey, this is what you should do with the money. I thought, she's working, she's young, let her figure it out. However, after a certain bit of time, I said, okay, well, let's sit down and talk about this. How can we make this better? Because as a parent or as an aunt or as a grandparent or any of these things, they're not learning these things in school, so you need to teach them how to handle their money as they're moving forward. So for my 17-year-old, and for each child it could be different, because right now mine is different for each child. So I said, okay, this is how we're gonna split out your money. And because I wasn't sure exactly, she works at a fast food place and her hours vary, thus her income varies. So we were going to work percentages. We thought that would be easier than choosing dollar amounts. I'll say, let's just for easy numbers say, okay, it was $110 she got paid, and then we took $10 off, and now there's $100, just for easy percentage numbers. For her, the first one, we said, and it also depends on what your child has to spend on. Like, do they have to pay for a cell phone? Do they pay for gas? Do they pay for the insurance? These are things that you can work out, and it may be adjusting these percentages for you personally. But for my first one, she had to pay for half of her vehicle, and then she pays for gas. And so we split the cost of the purchase of the car with her, and then she made payments to us afterward, monthly payments. Again, this is a learning experience for her to learn that when you purchase a car that you can't buy outright, you have to make payments on. So we said, okay, we took the amount that for her half, and we divided that by the amount that she would still be in our house until she graduated from high school. We said, okay, divided by this many months, this is going to be your monthly payment. So that was her car payment. She also decided that she wanted to upgrade her phone to get like a special phone, not just a regular phone, but an extra upgraded one. And I said, that's fine, you can have an upgraded phone, and I will pay for your regular phone, but I'm not going to pay for the upgraded. You have to pay for that. So her car payment worked out to be $100 a month, and then for her cell phone she paid $35 a month. So that was hers, $135. But of course that doesn't work into our example because she's only making $100, right? Well, actually, let's do $100 pay period. So for her that would be too much, but for her salary, these were good numbers for her. So those were her expenses, besides like normal kid stuff, like going out to eat with friends, going to the movies, going shopping at the mall, those kinds of things she still had. So we said, okay, so off the top comes charity, and then 50% of your check is going to go put away to what we refer to as savings. So that's going to include your car payment, your cell phone payment, oil changes, flat tire, battery, any repairs that need to be done on the car, because again, for our family, that was for her to do. So if you have insurance or whatever you're requiring them, that could be in that. So 50% of her check. So in our example of $100, $50 goes into that, and it's whisked away so she doesn't have access. It is in our special savings account, not just a regular savings account at the bank, because those don't earn anything. So that's whisked away, and she doesn't really have access to it, so she doesn't spend it. 50 there. 15% goes to her college savings. We have a 529 plan. So in this example, $15 would go to her college saving plan out of that paycheck. The remaining 35% is going to be used for her to do whatever she wants. To get gas, it's to, like I said, go to the movie, go out to lunch, buy a pair of shoes, whatever she wants to do. And for her, that percentage worked. At the beginning, I said, listen, let's just start here. If if you need more money, like to get gas and do those things, we can adjust. But this is just a starting point. But for her, we've never had to adjust it. Now, we look at number 2, my second child, and then she's not nearly as big a spender, right? Personal spender. Did the same thing. Her car payment, she didn't upgrade her cell phone, so she didn't have that. Charity off the top. But she works a little less, and she makes a little less money because she's younger. We do 15% off the top. So in our example of $100, $15 goes to her college savings, and then the remaining balance of that $75, 75% of that would go to savings, and 25% would be for her to spend. And because she's not a big spender, she actually spent less than her sister, but she still has money accumulating in her checking account because she doesn't spend as much. So, it worked out for her. So you may not have the exact same percentages per child. I did forget to mention on my oldest is that because she does work more hours and she's been promoted at the fast food restaurant that she works, she actually even makes more money. So what we said to her is, we want to start you out right now when you're making money and you don't have to pay rent, you don't have to pay utilities, you don't have to do any of those things. We said, we'd like you to take $100 a month, and we opened a Roth IRA for her. And we said, listen, realistically, probably when you're in college, you're not going to be contributing at all to this, and it will just be sitting there growing in equity, but you should contribute now because it's not putting a strain on you. So doing these things for the kids, we wanted to do a couple things with them. We wanted to say things that are important that you should be doing out of every check. You should be putting some into charity. You should be putting some into savings and keeping them out for spending. You need all of those things. And the savings too, you have immediate savings, like we said, car repair, things like that. But then you also have long-term future savings too. Knowing that generation in particular, and probably not even mine, the Gen X, won't have Social Security, but I can almost guarantee that they won't for sure. So if she can start, saving, work 2 or 3 years, contributing $100 a month, even if she doesn't contribute for 5 years after that, that money is going to continue to grow. It doesn't have to be $100 a month. My middle daughter, she's not quite there yet because we're working on building things that she's just started working, but maybe she can contribute $20 a month to a Roth IRA. Any little bit that you can put aside is going to benefit them in the future. But the bottom line to teaching your teens, no matter what your percentages are, no matter where you choose to segment their money, that part is not as relevant, is to teach them to not spend all of the money that they make. And I've told my kids so many times, it doesn't matter how much you make. It matters how much you spend. Don't spend all of the money that you make, and you can grow and gain wealth, jump out of poverty, do so many things. And it doesn't matter if you make $50,000, $20,000, or $400,000. If you're spending all that you're making, how can that work? You can't spend all that you make, no matter what you make. Because they're teens, they don't make that much. But I teach them is do not spend that all. And they know when they're getting to the end of their check, if they're going through their check and they're like, oh, I don't really have that much money in there, but their whole check never went into their account. So they're never thinking, oh, I've got all this money I could spend. It's much more narrow, and that's a great habit to get into. And as an adult, I do that too. It's like we whisk money away right away. If you do have a job where they can take stuff for a 401k out pre-tax, that stuff is amazing. Definitely do that. And then if you get a raise, take that money if you're not used to getting money. And that's what I tell them too, is the best thing you can do is, for them, they could get like a quarter raise, which is a pretty good raise at that age. But I say, listen, you're already used to living on this much per, to make your stuff work. Take that extra money and put it away. So for us personally, I like to have, I'd say $2,000 to $3,000 in savings for my kids that should account for most like repairs and stuff in their car, and if they're working on an ongoing basis, I think that's enough. And I told them, like, once we get to that amount, that $2,000 to $3,000, and you're contributing like $100 a month, my example with my oldest, to a Roth IRA, that extra money I would like to pull it away and do something more long term with it. Because if they're not using them, you're teaching them lifelong saving skills. And these things will take them all the way to the end. If you can start them young to understanding that, it's going to make all the difference in the world to them. So I know it was long, and hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions, there's no wrong way to do this with the percentages. You just have to kind of play with it and see what works for you and your family. And each child could be different. But hopefully you learned something, and reach out if you have questions. Thanks.